You're mid-sentence in a job interview, and suddenly your voice cracks, or your mouth goes bone dry right before you have to speak in a meeting. Maybe your words start trailing off, breathless, even though your mind feels calm and ready. Here's the strange part. You didn't choose any of this. So why does your throat act like you're facing a predator, not a presentation? Why does your voice change the moment you get nervous, even when you feel composed on the inside? Here's the answer. Your brain has a threat detector, and it doesn't know the difference between a lion and a meeting agenda. The moment it flags danger, it fires the sympathetic nervous system, the same alarm built for physical survival. That alarm doesn't ask permission. It runs straight to the tiny muscles wrapped around your vocal cords and tightens them instantly before you're even aware anything shifted. Those muscles lose their smooth control, and your pitch jumps or cracks mid-word, even though you knew exactly what you meant to say. So if your throat is tightening, what happens to your breathing while all this is unfolding? While your throat muscles are busy tightening around your vocal cords, something else is happening at the exact same time, and it has everything to do with why your sentences start falling apart mid-thought. The same alarm that gripped your larynx also reaches into your lungs and changes the way you breathe. Instead of that slow, steady stream of air your voice normally rides on, your breathing shifts into short, shallow bursts, quick pulls of air into the top of your chest, instead of deep pulls into your belly. This is the body preparing for a sprint, not a sentence. It wants fast oxygen for fast muscles, in case you need to run or fight. But your voice doesn't need fast air, it needs steady air. So when you try to speak on top of this new breathing pattern, you run out of air mid-sentence. Words trail off, breathless, even though you knew exactly how you wanted to finish the thought. It isn't that you forgot what to say, you simply lost the air that was supposed to carry it. That's the second piece of the puzzle, sitting right next to the first. So let's pause for a second and look at what we've uncovered so far. The brain's threat detector mistakes a stressful but harmless moment for actual danger. That alarm tightens the small muscles around your vocal cords, which is why your pitch jumps or your voice cracks without warning. At the same time, it disrupts your breathing, pulling it into short, shallow bursts instead of the long, steady stream your voice depends on, which is why your sentences run out of air before you're finished saying them. Two mechanisms, two familiar sensations, both explained. But there's a third piece still missing, and it might be the most physically uncomfortable one. What happens to the inside of your mouth during all of this? And why does it suddenly feel like you've been chewing on cotton? Here's the answer. At the exact same moment your throat tightens and your breathing shortens, your body also shuts off saliva production. This sounds strange until you remember what the alarm system actually cares about. It doesn't care about comfort, only survival. And in the body's ancient logic, saliva belongs to digestion, something that only matters when you're safe enough to eat. If you're supposedly facing a predator, digestion is a waste of resources, so the body redirects blood flow and shuts down anything unnecessary for immediate survival, saliva included. That's why, right before public speaking, your mouth can suddenly feel bone dry, your tongue sticking to the roof of your mouth, words physically catching before they even reach your lips. It isn't nerves making you imagine dryness, it's your body actively cutting off moisture, because as far as your ancient alarm system is concerned, you might need every drop of blood somewhere else. Now here's something curious. This same tightening doesn't wait for you to actually start speaking. It can show up earlier, as a physical sensation, before a single word leaves your mouth. Think of the tight, almost swollen feeling in your throat, right before you have to say something difficult, an apology, a hard truth, bad news you don't want to deliver. That lump in throat feeling is the identical laryngeal tightening we already talked about, just happening in advance, before sound is even produced. Your body is bracing for impact, the way it would brace before a physical blow, except the blow here is emotional, not physical. The muscles don't know the difference, they just clench, which raises an obvious question. Why would the body build this entire, complicated combination of reactions, tight throat, shallow breath, dry mouth, all stacked together for something as ordinary as a conversation or a meeting? The honest answer is that this system was never designed for conversations at all. It evolved millions of years ago to handle physical predators. Immediate life or death threats were tightening the throat to stay silent, redirecting blood away from digestion, and preparing the lungs for a sprint actually mattered for survival. Your body kept that exact software. It just never got the update that most modern threats are social, not physical. A tense meeting, a first date, an interview panel. None of these will actually harm you, but your throat still reacts as if you're standing in front of something with teeth. So picture what happens when all three of these effects land at once. Tight laryngeal muscles reducing your control, shallow breathing cutting your air supply, dry mouth reducing lubrication and ease of movement in your throat and tongue. Stack those together, and the voice can suddenly go quiet or breathy, almost like someone reached over and turned your own volume down without asking. This is often the moment people remember most, being put on the spot with an unexpected question and hearing their own voice shrink in real time. And here's the part that explains why this can feel like it's getting worse instead of better. In a single tense moment, this reaction is brief. It flares, then it passes. But if your brain starts treating speaking moments themselves as dangerous because the last meeting ended in a cracked voice, the same throat-tightening pattern can begin firing earlier and more easily each time. Someone who stumbled once in a meeting might start dreading every meeting afterward, their throat tightening before they've said a single word, simply because the brain learned to expect danger there. This isn't a flaw in character, it's a learned alarm pattern, and learned patterns can shift. Which brings us to the real question worth answering next. Is there a way to interrupt this alarm before it ever gets the chance to grip your throat again? Here's the part most people never learn. The same nervous system that grips your throat also has a built-in release valve, and you don't need a special technique or years of training to reach it. You already carry the switch with you. It's your breath. Your body reads breathing patterns as information. Fast, shallow breaths tell your nervous system a threat is present. Keep the alarm running. But slow, extended exhales send the opposite signal. They tell your body the danger has passed. It's safe to stand down. This is one of the few places where you can consciously reach into a system that normally runs entirely on autopilot and nudge it back toward calm. So here's the actual reset. Before a high-stakes conversation, a job interview, a hard conversation with a partner, a moment where you're about to be put on the spot, take 3 slow breaths. Inhale through your nose for a count of about 4. Then exhale slowly for about 8, roughly double the length of the inhale. That extended exhale is the key. It's not about breathing more air in, it's about breathing out longer than you breathe in. 3 rounds of that, done quietly, even while someone else is talking or while you're sitting in a waiting room, is enough to start easing the same laryngeal muscles that tightened under the alarm. Now, an honest expectation. This will not switch off nervousness completely. That was never the point. You may still feel your pulse pick up, still feel that flicker of adrenaline before you speak. That's fine. The goal isn't a nervous system that never activates. It's a nervous system that isn't gripping your throat quite so hard while it does. You might still feel a small flutter in your voice, but the crushing tightness, the total loss of control, that's what this reset is aimed at easing, not erasing. And this matters because a shaky voice was never proof that something is wrong with you. It's not weakness leaking out. It's not a lack of preparation. It's your body's ancient alarm system, the exact same one that once helped a person survive a real predator, misfiring its protection onto a modern moment that only feels dangerous. The system is doing its job. It's just aiming that job at the wrong kind of threat. A meeting instead of a lion, a first date instead of a chase. Understanding that alone tends to lower the shame, even before the breathing changes anything physically. If you want to actually notice this working, don't judge it after one attempt. Try the 3-breath reset before a handful of different nervous moments over the next week or 2. A meeting where you have to speak up. A phone call you've been avoiding. A conversation that matters. Pay attention afterward, not to whether you felt calm, but to smaller, more specific signals. Did your throat feel slightly less clenched than usual? Did your mouth feel a little less like sandpaper? Did your sentences carry a bit further before running out of air? These are the same 3 mechanisms we walked through: the tight larynx, the shallow breath, the dry mouth, and this is where you get to observe them responding, in real time, to something you did on purpose. So the next time you feel your voice start to wobble right before you speak, you don't have to spiral into embarrassment or wonder what's wrong with you. Nothing is wrong. Your throat is not betraying you. It's protecting a version of you that no longer needs protecting from predators, using tools built for a different kind of danger. And in that moment, you have something simple within reach. Not a cure, not a guarantee, just one slow exhale, twice as long as the inhale, quietly reminding your body that it's safe enough to speak.